All right, point slope form is something you've probably seen before, so let's kind of review it really quickly. Go ahead and write down this formula. What we're doing is we're going to be given a point and a slope and plug that into here. That point, x and y value get plugged into this x and this y value, the 2 second x and y's, and my slope goes in that m spot. So I'm going to write y minus 7 equals -4, and I'll put a parentheses and do x. I could write minus -1, or I could really change that to just +1. So oftentimes you will see x plus 1 instead. All right. So what we do is we change our sign. Because this is a minus sign, oftentimes I change my sign. So instead of a +7 here, we see a -7. So number 2, same idea. Y, and then the opposite of my y, so +5 equals 2/3 parentheses x, and the opposite of that -6, so +6. And that is my equation. Oftentimes we want to just use a slope formula to find my slope. So I'll be given 2 points and I want to know the slope in between them. So slope is really just change in y over change in x. In other words, y1, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And that gives me my slope. So let's practice figuring out slope between these 2 points. Again, we got x1, y1, x2, y2. So I'm going to subtract my y's on the top of my fraction, 7 minus 1, and subtract my x's on the bottom of my fraction, -3 minus -6. 7 minus 1 is -6. -3 minus -6, that ends up being a +3. And then I get a -2 as my answer. So this is my slope. Oh shoot, and I didn't give myself room to write my slope, point slope form. So I'm gonna just choose one ordered pair here and go y minus 1, using the 1 from that ordered pair, equals my slope that I just found, and x minus -6, which becomes +6. So that is my final equation. Let's do that one more time. I'm going to take 8 minus -2 on the top of my fraction, -6 minus -2 on the bottom of my fraction. Both of these double negatives, I'm going to change them to plus positives. So I got 10 over -4. That really can't do much. I can reduce it down to -5 over 2 as my slope. And then I want to rewrite that equation. I'm going to use whichever ordered pair. I'm probably going to use the first one all the time. So instead of minus -2, I'm going to put y plus 2. And my new slope here, as well as parentheses, x plus 2. Now you can go ahead and try number 5 and 6 on your own. This is my answer for number 5. But when you get to number 6, an unfortunate thing happens. We have a slope of 0. Essentially what happens is if I were to distribute that 0 out, I would have y plus 3 equals 0. I no longer have an x. And my actual final equation is going to be y equals -3. There's no slope. I essentially have a flat horizontal line at -3. Now let's go ahead and move on to writing some equations. It says a cab ride costs $4 plus $1.75 per mile driven. Now let's remind ourselves about a nice equation, y equals mx plus b. That slope is really the same thing as like my rate of change, slope or rate, and that y-intercept actually could be considered my starting point. So if his cab ride costs $4, that would be his starting point, and $1.75. So this is going to be my B, and $1.75 per mile is going to be my slope. So I'm going to write an equation, y equals 1.75x plus 4. I start at $4, and then every mile costs $1.75. So then when it asks if his destination is 17 miles away and he has $30, will he make it? Well, let's see what 17 miles gives us. Y equals 1.75 times 17 plus 4. If I type that in my calculator, I get y equals $16.25. So yes, he will make it on $30. Let's flip to the next side, write an equation over here. So the Jones are purchasing a new home. The closing costs are $249 plus 3%. So that $249 is my starting point, my B. And that 3%, that's my rate. Anytime I have a percentage, please change it to a decimal, 0.03. And so let's go ahead and write an equation where I have y equals 0.03x plus 249. The purchase price of their home is this, and the sellers offer $5,000 in closing costs. So what will that cover that all? So let's go ahead and plug in this into the purchase price of the home. 3% of the purchase price is what that is. So I'm going to figure out 0.03 times 195,000 plus 249. If we type that out into our calculator, take your time and do that. We should get $6,099. So $5,000 would not cover that closing cost. My answer is no. Last one, I like this. This one's a little bit different because it's burning at a rate of 1 ounce every 5 hours. So this is actually my rate, since it's getting less, is going to be -5. -5. So we start with 22.5. So let's do this as -5x plus 22.5. How many hours will the candle last? That means when is this going to be at 0? So I have 0 equals -5x plus 22.5. And so I can subtract my 22.5 to the other side. And when I divide by -5, I get a final answer of 4.5 hours. All right, let's do some in standard form. Josh bought 3 bags of potting soil and 10 bags of mulch from Home Depot. So I'm first gonna just talk about my variables. I'm gonna have X be my potting soil, and Y is gonna be my mulch. And the way I'm gonna write this is I'm putting a number next to each of these variables. 3X plus 10Y equals my total cost. And so if Josh spent $40.91 and mulch costs $2.75, let's just plug that in. That's going in the Y spot, and this is going into my cost spot. And I'm going to solve from there. So 3x plus 10 times 2.75 equals 40.91. And I'll solve. Let's simplify this. This is 2 plus 27.5 equals 40.91. When I subtract, I get 3x equals 13.41. And then I divide by 3, I get x equals $4.47 for the potting soil. Let me have you go ahead and pause. See if you could write an equation for Kaylee. This is the equation I wrote. As long as you have something similar, I put a T for total. But let's go ahead and take a moment, see if you can plug in for B, solve that one on your own, and in a couple seconds, check your answer. If you were to work that out, you should find out that she has a total of 25 nickels. Let's try this again with number 2. Pause the screen, see if you can write an equation for number 12. Check your answer in a few seconds. Hopefully you have something very similar to this. Now go ahead and see if you can plug in 137 and for those pretzels to make $1,000. Check your answer, see if you solved and got 118 bags of popcorn. Your assignment is the second page, just lots more equations and variables to define. 2 questions up at the top, please write them in point slope form. That is it.